Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we are of course doing Hero Firefighter by day, Serial Killer by night, Kiyotaka Katsuta case. This is by Dark Asia with Megan, obviously. I figured I'd just do some Dark Asian with Megan today, since I think we're starting to get into this groove of the rotten mango, which is like long and weathering, and then we can do something shorter or just easier to consume, I would say. So that would be Dark Asia with Megan or any of the other ones, maybe Blaze Masquerade, Opium, uh, like Crowley whenever he decides to post another video because it's been a while. Blame It on Jorge is still an option in there. I haven't watched any of his stuff on the channel, but I have watched his stuff in the past on my own. Of course, Stephanie Sue her main channel could fall into this category because obviously there's the Chinaverse that keeps being requested, but it's kind of too, I don't know, not too difficult to get into. But I looked up a playlist. There's a lot of stuff in there, but most of the videos are mukbangs, and I don't know if it's just like too weird to just watch someone eat. Because a lot of it, I'm assuming, is just going to be watching them eat, talk about the food, and then they chime in with the quote-unquote Chinaverse. So I don't know if I should skip all the mukbang stuff and just go into the videos that aren't. And that's series, I don't know. Still figuring that out. But yep, not much else to go on to right now. I think that is it. So we can go ahead and start this video.
Being a firefighter takes strength, not just physical strength, but mental strength too. You're trusted to run into danger when everyone else is running out. And while some people call firefighters heroes, and often they are, the truth is they also carry the weight of every life they couldn't save. It's a job that demands courage, discipline, and heart. But what if someone who wore that uniform, someone seen as a hero, turned out to be hiding something else entirely? This is the story of Kiyotaka Katsuta, a firefighter by day and a serial killer by night.
Dark Asia with Megan. So how's this gonna go down?
As someone
I would assume obviously this is in Japan, question mark.
who covers real-life crimes and the darkest sides of human behavior, I've seen one pattern repeat itself over and over again.
Is this an ad?
People ignoring red flags because they didn't have all the facts. That's why I recommend using tools like Circle with an S.
Okay, I'm assuming this is a ad read. How long is this gonna be? I mean, obviously I leave this stuff in here, but looks like it's not too long. I'm assuming it starts about, oh, you can't see it because it's off screen, but this is about a minute long ad read. Yeah. How, I mean, serial killer implies you've killed 3 people. So this guy's going to end up at least killing 3. But kind of, where do you even, like, get to that point where, you know, as the title says, you're saving lives, basically by day, but then you're killing people by night? Like, equalizing things, honestly? Are these just random people? Are they bad people? Because you could argue there's some sort of like vigilanteism there, if it ends up going that way. Yeah, this ad read's still going. Is it just serial killer vigilanteism, like Dexter, like the show Dexter, or is it just they're just killing random people, like good people?
Just stay aware. Let's start on October 27th, 1982. A police officer was
The 80s.
out on patrol when a car suddenly rammed into his vehicle. The driver didn't stick around. Instead, he grabbed the officer's gun and vanished into the shadows of a dark alley.
Is this Japan or not? 'Cause I don't know if Japanese police officers just typically have guns, unless they got rid of them after this point in time. I don't know if they actually carry guns.
4 days later, on October 31st, the same man tried to rob someone, but this time his target fought back, trying to take the gun away. The man pulled the trigger. The victim didn't survive. Then came November 1st, another shooting, another person injured, still no arrest. The manhunt was on, but the shooter was always one step ahead. Fast forward to January 31st, 1983. Yet another armed robbery. But this time they caught him, and what followed was the real shock. The man they arrested wasn't just any criminal. He was a respected firefighter, a man with medals, a man praised for saving lives. Kiyotaka Katsuta. Once they had him, the puzzle pieces started falling into place. He wasn't just tied to that one case. He was linked to at least 7 murders.
At least 7. Is that including or excluding the first person he shot with a gun?
But as the investigation continued, the numbers climbed.
Oh,
22
okay.
murders, over 300 robberies.
How do you do that many things? How do you do 300 robberies? Almost a year's worth of robberies.
And even sexual assaults. The scale of his crimes
Just
stunned
everything.
the nation. People couldn't believe it. How
Yeah, you're a firefighter and yet you're murdering, assaulting, and stealing. What?
could someone live such a double life? How could a person spend his days rescuing people?
And how could it take so long to figure that out? The police to figure out something's going on with it, and it's just one person.
And his nights destroying them. So, who was Kiyotaka Katsuta really? He was born on August 29th, 1948, in a rural part of Kyoto Prefecture. He was the eldest son of farmers, but his family wasn't poor. In fact, they made sure he had the best. He went to a Christian nursery school before elementary school, not something every kid in the village did. To outsiders, he looked like a model child, the kind of boy you would expect to grow into a decent man. Growing up, Kiyotaka's parents were barely home. They were always working, and instead of time or affection, they gave him money. Buy whatever makes you happy, they'd say. It sounds like freedom, but for a shy kid like Kiyotaka, it just meant being left alone with no one to talk to. He wasn't the kind of kid who'd start conversations. He kept to himself, quiet, unless someone else made the first move. At home, things weren't much better. His dad had a habit of comparing him to his younger sister constantly. Why can't you study like her? Why don't you save money like your sister does?
Save money? I mean, just said he has... How is he going to spend it if he's too shy to spend it? Is he not saving? But what is he doing with the money? Where's it going?
It was never ending. No matter what he did, it was never enough. And even though the family was fairly well off and gave him daily pocket money, Kiyotaka didn't feel satisfied. So he started stealing from his own mother.
Okay.
First, it was small. He'd take 500 yen from her wallet and blow it all in one day.
Yeah, that's like common enough for kids to do, I think. Like one in every so kids might do something like this.
Then he escalated, stealing electric wires to sell, pawning off his dad's favorite copper basin.
Stealing copper. I think there is like a big copper not necessarily ring, but like there is a market for like busting into places and stealing the copper out of the walls and stuff like that. Copper wires and tubes and whatnot, and then selling them somewhere. Because I know someone who knows someone who has done that. So I know there is like some sort of business in that, like being a copper thief.
Even pocketing money he found on the street instead of turning it in. At school, his performance slipped fast. Starting around 3rd grade, he just gave up. Instead of trying harder to outdo his sister, he shut down. His grades tanked, and when it came time to apply for
what?
high school, he told his teacher he wanted to get into
Top tier school. What grade were we in? Roll me all the way back.
Why don't you save money like your sister?
Yep.
And even though the
Stealing, yep.
So he started stealing from his own mother.
Okay, we still need
Blow
to
it
go for
all
it.
in one day. Then he escalated, stealing electric wires to sell, pawning off his dad's favorite copper basin, even pocketing money he found on the street instead of turning it in. At school, his performance slipped fast. Starting around third grade,
Okay, third grade. Like, how is he out here as a third grader? So, what is that, like 8 or 9, somewhere around there? Not even double digits, and he's somehow able to steal copper and is already, like, thinking about just not caring about grades and doing something else?
he just gave up. Instead of trying harder to outdo his sister, he shut down. His grades tanked, and when it came time to apply for high school, he told his teacher he wanted to get into a top-tier school. The teacher laughed, "Wash your face and face reality." And it was humiliating.
What grade are we talking about now? Like, out of elementary? Talk about middle school and getting laughed because you want to get to a good middle school?
But maybe that embarrassment lit a fire under him, because Kiyotaka actually buckled down and studied. He didn't get into a prestigious school, but he managed to enter a public high school's general course. Still, the pressure didn't stop there. He struggled to keep up academically. Eventually, he had to give up the regular track. His father stepped in and enrolled him in the agriculture department, hoping he would take over the family farm someday. And that only made things worse. Kiyotaka resented him deeply, and the stealing didn't stop. If he fell short on cash, he'd sneak into the school cafeteria to steal meal tickets.
Okay.
From there,
I don't. We didn't have meal quote unquote tickets in any of the schools I went to. I don't know if that's just a Japanese thing, so I don't know exactly what I think it's just a thing that gets you food in the cafeteria in schools. But I didn't go to any schools that had that stuff, and lunches were just free? Question mark. When I was going to school. Well, I don't know about elementary. Elementary had to be free too, right? Yeah, it was all free. You just sign some paper. Parents sign some paper, and then you just get for free. I don't know if they still do stuff like that though. I'm guessing the good schools you don't get food for free. But like if you go to like a cruddy school, then yeah, sure, free lunch, free breakfast.
things spiraled. He went from petty theft to stealing a car, then to pickpocketing random strangers on the street. More than 20 snatching incidents. One day in November 1965,
65. And he got caught around the 80s, so he's been doing this for a long time. I mean, obviously.
while trying to grab a woman's handbag from a motorcycle, he was finally caught by a police officer on patrol. By that point, Kiyotaka had stolen goods worth over 1 million yen. For perspective,
7,000? That was only 7,000 back then?
back in 1965, the monthly salary of a university graduate was just 23,000 yen. This was a massive theft for a high schooler. Because he was still underage, the court sent him to Izumi Juvenile Detention Center in Osaka. He served 6 months and was expelled from school. After his release, around 1967, he met Sachiko, a girl from a nearby town. She was a year younger, and their relationship seemed sincere. They talked about marriage, dreamed of a future together, but both families were against it. Kiyotaka's family looked down on Sachiko's background.
I mean, first of all, they're farmers, right? Second of all, your son was in a detention center for 6 months, question mark. Juvenile detention center.
And Sachiko's family didn't want their daughter marrying someone fresh out of juvenile detention.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in 1968, they eloped. The two of them moved to Osaka and rented a tiny place called the Aomori apartment, the kind with shared toilets, no bath, nothing fancy. But they
I mean, that's actually fine. You'd be like, wait, no bath? What? But because this is Japan, they have bathhouses where everybody goes and just bathes together. Like the community just goes there and bathes together. Because that's not something you do in America. I don't know how many other places do that, but in Japan that's just normal, right? So not having a bath at home is actually okay. You can get away with that over there, which I don't know if that could make rent cheaper, right? If you just have bathhouses everywhere, then you don't need it to install a bathroom into your, well, a bathtub and shower into your abode or whatever.
Stuck together. They lived like that for a while. Eventually, in 1970, both families gave in and their marriage was officially recognized. At first glance, it seemed like a normal marriage, but Kiyotaka never let go of his need for freedom. He had a mistress. And not just once, he often stayed out at night, sleeping with other women, while Sachiko stayed home with her kids.
They had kids at this point. Also, we're getting a full backstory on this guy's life before even getting to the murders.
She eventually found out. In February 1979, completely devastated, Sachiko tried to end her life. By then, they had two sons, Hiroaki, born in 1971, and Kazuya, born on December 30th, 1977. From the outside, they looked like an ordinary family, but behind closed doors, cracks were already forming, and the man who once stole for thrill was now building a much darker secret life.
How did he end up becoming a firefighter, by the way? I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get to that point, but
Now let's talk about his career. After getting out of juvenile detention, finding a proper job wasn't easy. Kiyotaka had a record, and people didn't forget that. But thanks to his father's connections, he got a spot at an auto parts factory. It should have been a chance to start over, but things didn't go smoothly.
of course, he keeps messing things
Not
up.
long after he joined, people at the factory started complaining about missing items.
Is he like a kleptomaniac at this point? If he's just stealing, I mean, not necessarily, right? But compulsory stealing now? Just can't help
Wallets,
himself? Just can't help himself from stealing?
watches, things vanishing from their lockers. And once the rumors started, they didn't stop. Everyone knew about Kiyotaka's past, and suspicion naturally pointed toward him.
Maybe it's not him, though. Maybe that's like the twist.
He felt the pressure, the looks, people talking behind his back. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore and quit. For a while, during his early years living with Sachiko, he worked at a rental car shop. But again, things didn't work out. His boss often pushed the blame onto him whenever something went wrong, and Kiyotaka ended up shouldering responsibilities that weren't his. He quit that job too. Then in 1970, things seemed to change.
Bus driver?
He got a job
Truck
as a
driver.
truck driver for a transport company, and for once, he actually liked it. He was alone on the road, nobody micromanaging him, and the pay was decent. It was simple work, and it suited him. But that peace didn't last either. In January 1972, a female bank employee was raped and murdered in Kamocho, Nara City. Kiyotaka had no connection to the case. He didn't even know the victim, and his alibi held up. But the police came by his workplace to ask questions, and while doing so, they brought up his criminal past.
Okay. So the thing here is that he has 6 months in. I know I was talking about it before. Him like a family might not want you to marry someone was a criminal, but rolling that back the other direction, it was juvenile detention, not real prison. It was just juvenile detention. Like he got in trouble as a kid, so I feel like that a kid like a long time ago. So we shouldn't even be like thinking about that. Like that should just be let go a long time ago. Like that was something he did as a child. Like move on.
In front of his employer. That changed everything. Kiyotaka, who had built a reputation at the company as a hardworking guy, suddenly became the ex-delinquent.
Yeah, delinquent, which is fine. He's a grown man at this point. Again, this guy's like a evil person, but in before we get to him being evil, like he was a delinquent. Delinquent usually was that in reference to young people, and now he's an adult. So let it go.
Even his boss, who had once trusted him, asked point blank, "Did you kill that woman?" Kiyotaka denied it, but he was frustrated, angry, humiliated again. And that is when his attitude started to shift. He began living differently, flashier. He bought expensive clothes, drank pricey liquor, and started seeing another woman on the side. From the outside, he looked successful, but on the inside, he was spiraling. Sometime later, a new fire station was
This fire station where Kiyotaka worked.
established in his area, and his father, wanting him to have a stable, respectable career, pressured him hard to take the civil service exam. Kiyotaka didn't really want it, but he gave in, took the test, and passed. In 1972, at the age of 23, he became a firefighter. To most people, it looked like Kiyotaka had turned his life around, and in some ways he did. He worked hard, he was competent. In fact, he rose quickly, promoted to deputy chief firefighter in just 2 years. And by the age of 28, he was chief firefighter. Colleagues respected him. He won 20 awards, even claimed 2 consecutive national championships for
Championships? What do you mean by championship? I guess they just hold like tests, like obstacle courses or something, that are like, okay, how fast can you get this ladder up and climb it, and then get inside this building and get these people out, or etc. etc. But like it's in a controlled environment.
firefighting performance. On paper, he was a role model, a hero. But all of that was just the surface. Behind closed doors, he was living a double life.
That was he already a serial killer at this point?
Luxury car, golf club membership, expensive taste. But a firefighter's salary couldn't support all of that. Not even close.
I guess he's robbing the people he's killing.
So what did he do? He started robbing people again. Daytime, he was a decorated firefighter. Nighttime, he was breaking into homes, committing armed robbery. He had built a mask so convincing that no one questioned it. And then, just 3 months into his job as a firefighter, on July 8th, 1972, he was arrested for causing a car accident.
Okay, car accident, not armed robbery yet, though.
Strangely enough, he wasn't disciplined or charged. But once again, the incident dug up his past. At work, people began to see through the cracks. The old suspicions returned. The pressure started to build again. To deal with the stress, he turned to alcohol, a lot of alcohol. He spent ridiculous amounts of money on high-end liquor, almost like he was trying to drown the version of himself he couldn't control. He was slipping further and further away from the person everyone thought he was. Starting around August 1972, Kiyotaka began committing burglaries more regularly, mostly around Kyoto. During the day, he played the role of the perfect firefighter, but on his days off, he would drive to Yamashina, not to relax, but to break into homes. And behind it all, a loan shark was breathing down his neck. He desperately needed money. Then, in September 1972, just 5 months into his firefighting career, Kiyotaka took a darker turn.
This is where he actually started killing people. So he hasn't killed anybody yet. He's only been robbing, and I guess taking out loans to facilitate this lifestyle that he's living. He just can't handle the pressure, I guess.
It was the first time he crossed the line from robbery to murder. On the night of September 12, he'd been drinking heavily at a bar in Nara. Sometime around midnight, he drove to Kyoto City looking for a house to rob. He wandered from building to building, checking for open windows, unlocked doors. But even after hours of creeping through neighborhoods, he found nothing worth stealing. Then, around 5 a.m., he noticed a back door in an apartment in Bessho town cracked open, just a little. About 10 centimeters, and that was enough. The apartment belonged to Hiroko Nakamura, a 24-year-old hostess at a local snack bar. As Kiyotaka crept in, Hiroko spotted him, and that's when things spiraled. He attacked her, but this wasn't just about theft anymore. In the chaos, something shifted. Seeing her struggle, seeing her afraid, it triggered something far more violent. Kiyotaka raped her while strangling her with her own pantyhose. When she stopped moving, he grabbed a mere 1,000 yen and fled.
$7, which is great. What? 7 USD, yeah. Like $7. So, are we going to be like, if we're going to analyze this, it's supposed to be some sort of thing where, the snap in him happened, that he found that he enjoys this because he keeps, I don't know, having control taken away from him and people treating him a certain way, and then this is him taking control away from other people and giving it to himself. Is that how we're supposed to like analyze this in some sort of way? And like now he's going to get high off of uh, again taking the control away from others
Later,
and having them be fearful. Like, what do you consider him being fearful of everyone around him treating him like a criminal? So you're just like vague fear, maybe, and now he's just enjoying the fear of others while he has all the power.
later, it was Hiroko's partner, her common-law husband, who found her lifeless body, half naked on the floor, and called the police. Since there were no signs of forced entry or struggle, the police assumed the killer was someone she knew. That theory led nowhere. The case went cold, and Kiyotaka, he spent the stolen cash at a club and stayed in the area to keep stealing.
Really, just send it to the club, even though you got loan sharks on you.
3 years passed. By July 6, 1975, Kiyotaka had already been promoted to deputy chief firefighter. He had awards, a good salary, respect, but he was still committing crimes. That night, he
Yeah, like massive inferiority complex. Like I didn't think to say that the entire time, but like he's suffering from the most massive inferiority complex, and is now just making that everyone else's problem.
he went to
Has been making that everyone else's problem since he's been stealing since he was a child, and it's just escalated since.
Suita City in Osaka, looking for someone, anyone to rob. That's when he spotted Suzuko Fujishiro, 35, parking her car near her apartment. He waited. As she got out, he crept up and tried to snatch her handbag. But Suzuko resisted. She fought back and saw his face.
I was like, how have you been doing this for so long and no one's seen your face, assuming you're not wearing some sort of mask or disguise? Like, how's he just keep getting away with it?
Panicked, Kyuta grabbed a thin packing cord from the ground and strangled her on the spot. Then he placed her body in the passenger seat, drove the car to a nearby pond, and left her there. He got away with 100,000 yen. Later, he
Basically
torched
nothing.
her car, a Nissan Fairlady Z, in a parking lot in Osaka to erase the evidence. Her body was discovered the next morning, but once again, Kiyotaka was nowhere in the police's line of sight. By December 1975, with stolen money in hand, he bought a Toyota Century and got a golf membership and made nightly visits to expensive clubs. But of course, it wasn't enough. It never was. He borrowed more from the fire department fund, from banks, and when he couldn't pay it back, he simply traveled to another city to rob someone else. By March 1976, he was in Nagoya. Just past 2 a.m. on March 6, Kiyotaka was stopped at a red light when he noticed a woman.
Has he ever killed a man? Because all we've seen so far is women at this point. Again, the inferiority complex of and whatnot, but he does not seem to be able to. Not about being able to. He does not seem to be trying to do this with another man. He's only like picking people possibly weaker than him? Question mark. So far, I would assume
Likely a hostess,
the power dynamic or whatever.
sitting in a Chevrolet Camaro nearby. Her name was Teruko Ito, 32. He followed her. When she parked, he tried to grab her bag, but she screamed, called for help. Once again, fear kicked in, and Kiyotaka strangled her, this time using her own scarf. He stole 20,000 yen, then placed her body in the trunk and dumped her in a field in Nagakute town, Aichi.
Where exactly was this that she could scream for help out in public? Question mark, and no one heard or was able to help.
Her body was discovered the next day, but still no trace of the killer. Then came June 30th, 1977, around 2 a.m. in Nagoya again. Kiyotaka was lurking near an apartment complex in Minamigu when he saw a woman leaving her unit without locking the door. Her name was Akiko Masuda, 28. Kiyotaka crept in. He found 40,000 yen in cash and was still searching when Akiko suddenly returned. She screamed and he ran. But then he changed his mind. He turned back.
I mean, every time he does this, he's killing someone, so he's probably like, what am I doing? I need to kill.
He jumped her from behind and strangled her with a thin cord.
He seems to really like strangling people now. I don't know where he got that from, other than it just being the first time he did it, and that's just his thing.
When she stopped moving, he locked the door using a spare key from the entryway, as if nothing had happened, and just slipped away. When police investigated the next morning, they assumed it was someone close to her.
I mean, that's always the first answer, that when someone is killed, it must be someone close. Or at least they say it usually is someone close, so that's why they suspect people who are close by default.
After all, the door had been locked. They focused their attention on her boyfriend, while Kiyotaka walked free. By this time, Kiyotaka Katsuta's name was known nationwide, not as a suspect, but as a hero,
Yeah, how much luck can you keep getting before it runs out? Well, obviously it runs out, but it seems like he just keeps getting lucky back to back to back to back. Perfect scenarios back to back to back to keep being a serial killer.
firefighter with awards, a loving husband, a father. He even appeared on a variety show with his wife Sachiko, smiling and waving. The perfect couple. No one suspected a thing. And then, the same month the show aired, August 12, 1977, he struck again. This time, it was an apartment building in Showaku, Nagoya. A woman, Yoshiko, a 33-year-old hairdresser, saw him lurking, trying to break into the unit next to hers. "What are you doing?" That one simple sentence was the last thing Yoshiko ever said. He strangled her. After she was dead, he pulled the diamond ring off her finger, worth around 450,000 yen, then carefully slid her body into the narrow space between the bed and the wall. Just like in his previous crimes, he locked the door with the key left in the front entrance and quietly slipped away. No one knew anything until August 18th, 4 days later, when her body was finally discovered. And while the public had no idea there was a serial killer walking among them,
Yeah, because he just keeps killing random people all over the place, except they are all women so far. Is it like 20 murders? Like, how many more years does this go on for?
Kiyotaka's crimes were only growing darker. On December 13th, that same year, the same month his second son was born, Kiyotaka took another life. But this time, the method was different. He used a hunting rifle.
Where did I mean, it gets the hunting rifle. It's like, where you gonna get that in Japan? But it's a hunting rifle, so I guess those are allowed.
His victim was Hiromasa Inoue, a 25-year-old employee.
Okay, well, he used a gun to kill a man, I guess.
Kiyotaka didn't know.
He didn't strangle him. I don't know if that's, again, going with the power dynamic. He's not trying to, do it by hand to another man. Assuming this guy was possibly strong enough to put up a fight.
Him, and it wasn't personal. It was all about the money. Unlike the previous crimes,
Assassinating this man, or just you knew he had a lot of money, so you shot him?
where he broke into homes or followed women with handbags, this time he went big, targeting a massive cash haul. And he got it. He escaped with 4.1 million yen in cash and another 5.1 million yen in checks.
He got a lot of money this time.
Before running, he ditched the rifle near the crime scene.
That seems dumb. Fingerprints all over that? I don't think fingerprints were that easy back then, but yeah, just shoot him and then use the rifle, or shoot him with the rifle and then just dump it right next to him.
He had stolen a truck from the Nagoya Central Wholesale Market just before the robbery, and left that behind too. This moment became a turning point. Kiyotaka realized that if he was going to keep living this high-cost lifestyle, the clubs, the women, the luxury, he'd need firepower. So
And yet you left your rifle behind?
later that month, in December 1979, he staked out a gun shop.
Can't believe those things exist in Japan.
When he saw a customer leaving with a rifle, he followed the man home, broke in, and stole the weapon. Now armed and emboldened, Kiyotaka went back on the hunt. On July 30th, 1980, Kiyotaka stole a Toyota Corolla and drove to a supermarket in Meito Ward, Nagoya, just before midnight. He waited for closing time, then ambushed Ichiro Honma, a 35-year-old employee. Holding him at gunpoint, Kiyotaka forced him to open the store's safe and
Okay, so now we're only doing guys, now that he has guns.
hand over 5.76 million yen. Then ordered Honma to drive away, only to shoot him in the heart once they were clear of the scene. Then, on October 25th, 1982, he stole a Toyota Celica and lured a patrol officer with a fake tip about a suspicious car. When the officer arrived, Kiyotaka attacked him with an iron rod, stole his loaded revolver, and vanished.
Is this when he stole the gun? Is this that moment?
Armed with a stolen pistol, he tried to rob another supermarket on October 31st in Hamamatsu City, but he fled when an employee escaped and raised the alarm. Still determined, he planned another robbery, but this time avoided using his own car. At the Otsu service area, he hijacked a yellow van, threatening the driver, Mitsuharu Kamiyama, 27, with a pistol. Around 9:30 p.m., as they drove through Kusatsu City, Kamiyama tried to disarm him, but failed. Kiyotaka shot him in the chest.
Now we're back to the point where, he robbed the police officer, he shot the guy trying to fight back.
Killing him instantly. And after that, the violence escalated. On November 1st, he shot and wounded a gas station clerk in Yoro, Kihu Prefecture.
There's a wounded guy.
The man only survived because he was armed. On November 28th, Kiyotaka robbed a supermarket again in Yamashina, Kyoto, escaping with 1.52 million yen. This string of crimes became known as the Metropolitan Designated Case 113, and yet the public still had no idea that the man behind it all was a respected firefighter, praised on TV, smiling beside his wife.
He just keeps escalating stuff more and more. He's just too deep in it now. He just has to keep going further and further. I don't know if he's even for the money anymore.
It seemed like Kiyotaka Katsuta was unstoppable, but as
He probably thought that too, which is why he kept going harder and harder.
we all know, there is no such thing as a perfect crime. Eventually, the cracks show. On January 31st, 1983, Kiyotaka parked a stolen Toyota Corolla outside a bank in Showa Ward, Nagoya City. He had one goal: to ambush someone leaving with a large sum of cash. At around 1:45 p.m., he approached a 31-year-old man, the president of a local transport company, who had just withdrawn over 1 million yen to pay his employees. Kiyotaka threatened him at gunpoint, but the man fought back. He grabbed Kiyotaka's arm and wrestled for the gun. It wasn't just a scuffle. A few bank employees saw the struggle from inside and rushed out to help. 3 of them got injured in the process. Kiyotaka tried to fire, but the gun jammed or misfired.
Okay, finally, his luck has run out.
This time,
It's like literally, the luck just keeps being perfect. It's like, thinking about it, it's like the ending, spoiler, to American Psycho, where it's, the part where it's all in his head and he's just, spoiler, again, spoiler, it's all in his head, right? The entire movie is all in his head. Unless you want to think it's something else. Going on like the face value opinion of the movie, everything's in his head, right? And he keeps doing all these murders, and the escalation of these murders keeps getting more and more and more until the end, where he literally shoots a cop car and it explodes. And it's so ridiculous that even he is like, what just happened? It's like he's becoming unstoppable, and his luck just keeps being perfect. He keeps getting away with it over and over again. It just feels like that. Like his luck just keeps going and going and going and going, but now it's just finally his miraculous luck is over that he shouldn't even had in the first place.
He couldn't run. The police arrived, and just like that, Kiyotaka Katsuta was arrested. At first, authorities didn't realize who they had. They thought it was just one robbery, but after investigating the pistol and questioning him further, things began to unravel. He started talking, and what he said stunned the nation.
Do you want recognition for what he's done now?
Kiyotaka confessed to 8 murders. His gun matched several unsolved crime scenes. Investigators realized they weren't looking at a one-off criminal. They were staring at the man behind over a decade of unsolved robberies and killings. The mask had finally slipped. When the news broke, Japan was shaken. This wasn't just any man. This was the firefighter, the smiling public servant, the TV personality on a variety show.
Hold on. Where? I mean, he was doing this at night, but like, where was he getting the time? Like, you are doing crazy stuff during the day, like, assuming fires are happening on the regular, like going into uh, buildings that are burning, carrying all this heavy equipment, like exhausting yourself. And then you're just like, oh yeah, after doing all of this exhausting work during the day, I'm just going to go and wrestle with people and kill them and steal their things. Like, where do you sleep?
People had praised him
Like, where are you getting the stamina from?
and admired him. And now they were hearing he had murdered people without hesitation. He was charged with 33 crimes in total, 7 counts of robbery and murder, 1 count of murder, 3 counts of robbery and manslaughter, 2 counts of robbery, 1 count of attempted robbery, and 12 counts of theft.
I don't know if it says his sentencing here. I think we already know this, but I think this says like 8 people probably killed, probably. I don't see the word death, but 8 people killed over a decade, I think. Which we already knew that. Is this Tokyo or Kyoto?
But
That actually is like... I always forget which one's which. Is this like Kyoto or Tokyo? I thought this is Kyoto, I think. And maybe this is Osaka. I don't know. Just because there's a big here. So Kyoto and something. Hostage? Hostess? See all the people that he's killed. How do they know all the people? I guess he told them, like, I've killed this person, this person, this person. But how do you know? Did you see their names? Do you remember their names?
robbery, 1 count of attempted robbery, and 12 counts of theft. But police believe the true number was much higher, possibly more than 22 murders and over 300 robberies.
Yeah, I mean, he technically had been robbing since he was allegedly in 3rd grade as a single-digit human being, so...
While in prison, Kiyotaka kept his distance from other inmates.
Well, I mean, he was shy as a child, so maybe that's just coming back again, coming back through.
He eventually grew close to a Christian woman named Yuko Kurusu, and later, her mother adopted him.
Huh? I'm confused. How do you adopt an adult man? What do you mean by that? Does that just mean that you're part of their family now? I guess you can adopt an adult man and he becomes your son and then he can... Did you continue your lineage? Question mark? That's like weird. The woman like loving him, that's just serial killer 101. Women falling for them and trying to get married to serial killers, that's just normal. That's just another every other Tuesday. But the woman's mother adopting the guy?
That's when his legal name changed from Kiyotaka Katsuta to Kiyotaka Fujiwara. His trial dragged on. It made headlines. Some demanded the harshest punishment.
They're like, what is the point of adding him to your family if he's probably going to die?
Others pointed to irregularities, including the fact that no psychiatric evaluation had been done before deciding he was fully responsible. Still, on January 17th, 1994,
Yeah, his death penalty. News about his death penalty. I mean, it says it's using the word for death here, so that makes sense.
Supreme Court of Japan upheld his 2 death sentences.
Two.
A historic
I was like wondering why it said two here. Yeah, because it's using number two and then death.
first in the country's judicial history. One was for the 7 murders between 1972 and 1980, and the second for the handgun killing in 1982. Then came the end. On November 30th, the Ministry of Justice announced the execution of 2 death row inmates, and one of them was him. He was the last person executed in Japan before the turn of the century.
I was gonna say, like, before they removed doing that, like before they removed death penalty from their acceptable punishments, but I don't know if they still do death penalty or not. I know some places don't, right? But I don't know if Japan still does it or not.
That morning, after being told his execution would take place at 9:30 a.m., Kiyotaka wrote 2 wills, one thanking his parents, the other asking his sister-in-law to burn his belongings. He took a final puff of tobacco, then walked to the execution chamber, escorted by a monk. Before the noose was placed, he asked,
Well, are we still doing hangings? It's so weird that hanging was still a thing in Japan and South Korea, because I think whenever we talk about executions happening in South Korea, we barely talk about how they're done. Like it might have been slipped out of here and there when Stephanie's talking about it, but I believe that they're being hung. So it's kind of crazy that lynching and hanging was still a thing in like the 80s, 90s, possibly for South Korea and I guess Japan. Maybe it was even still a thing over here. I don't know. I'd assume that we weren't doing that stuff. Like we had the electric chair. That's what we were doing. I'm pretty sure we had already been long past hanging? Question mark. Again, I'm not sure. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't know what I'm talking about. But because she just mentioned monk, there is her newest video, which is serial killer monk who carved up his victims and locked them in iron chests. That is her brand new video that came out yesterday. So we could watch that the day after tomorrow, because we're probably going to be doing Rotten Mango tomorrow. And then the day after that, we can go watch the monk video.
chamber, escorted by a monk. Before the noose was placed, he asked for his blindfold to be removed so he could see his chaplain one last time. The priest recited the Hanya Shingyo as Kiyotaka quietly whispered the names of his victims. "I'm sincerely sorry," he said. His funeral was held on December 2nd, 2000, in Nagoya City. His body was cremated, bringing an end to one of Japan's most chilling double lives. He had fooled an entire nation, pretending to be a hero, all while becoming a nightmare in the dark. His story has been adapted into books, films, and documentaries. Not to
What is this film adaptation of the case? They made a movie about it? Isn't that kind of messed up? I mean, I guess we do that too, but like, what's a movie that's like based on like real murders? It's a bit uh untasteful, right? Since I mean, look at this cover. Also YouTube. I don't stop that for YouTube. Just do that as well. Um, that isn't this like a bit distasteful on something that really happened? Question mark. I mean, I guess you could just whatever you want, do whatever you want with movies, but
to glorify what he did, but to remind us. You never truly know who someone is until they decide to take off the mask. It forces us to ask, how did someone like him slip through the cracks? Were people too focused on his image to see the truth? And how much trust do we place in uniforms, titles, and smiles without really questioning who's behind them? This case also reminds us that patterns of violence don't happen in isolation. Many of Katsuta's victims were vulnerable, alone, and overlooked. What does that say about the people we protect and the people we don't? So what do you think? Should systems for background checks be stricter? Are there others like him who hide behind status?
I mean,
Let's talk in the comments.
literally the only thing he did was spend 6 months in juvenile detention when he was a kid. So I don't know if like background checks are really going to matter when it's like, yeah, he did some stuff when he was a child. All the stuff he was doing as an adult, nobody knew about. So yeah, I don't know about that.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching.
I'm guessing this is just a picture of this. But yep, that was that video. Again, I don't know how he was allowed to have this much luck. Like, what did he do to have so much luck? Like, was he? Like, if we're gonna go with let's like bring Buddhism into this not before, into this just randomly. Was he just a saint in his previous life, and then got reborn into this guy, and then just had maximum luck, and he just burnt through all of it by killing people and getting away with it, and then that finally wore out? Because his luck seems to be so supernatural, which is why I'm saying that the Buddhism thing, it's just so supernatural. Like, how did you just keep getting away perfectly with no one finding out? Just like American Psycho, right, where he's doing things in broad daylight, like dragging a bloody body across the ground, or in front of people, or literally dropping a chainsaw right down the staircase, killing a woman in the building itself. And as she's running around screaming, and like nobody saw that, like just maximum luck, nobody was there. It just seems so just unreal that he could just get away with it for a decade. And even like the stealing as a child, I mean, he kind of got away with it for a long time too, until he got sent to juvie, right? But still, like, where is this luck coming from? Where did it come from? Like, obviously, you could say it's just a coincidence, but it seems pretty crazy, though. Yep. Again, that was that video. We will most likely, as usual, be doing Rotten Mango tomorrow. Don't know what video. We still need to do Burning Sun 3. But again, that's like it's 2 hours. That's going to be so exhausting to do. And I'm like just like killing myself streaming for 6-7 hours a day, then recording the rad videos for another several hours after that. I think I need to keep the Burning Sun Part 3 once I've done like streaming 1 billion hours a day. So I can just like relax and then get around to that video. So we'll see what tomorrow's Rotten Mango video will be. I think the day after that will probably be the monk video, because that seems interesting. And it's her newest video, so maybe people will want to see that. I don't think I have anything else to say. So guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, or think about becoming a member, or subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're working on watch time and subscribers, and over we have thrown now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Another do. See ya. Wait. New member. Forgot about that. Wait. Just a butt back in. The members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller880 are The very first member has returned and become a member again. So yeah, again, thanks to them for coming back. Okay, now we can end. So yeah, see ya.